Right then, hi Paul, welcome to Not Done Yet. Last time I talked about the day everything changed, the MRI, the scan, the appointment that followed, and that decision, making that decision to finally take responsibility, make the change, taking the first injection of Manjaro. But making one decision wasn't what actually changed my life, changed the way my life was. People often ask me now, what diet did you do? Bloody hell, you must have been on one hell of a diet. What workout did you do? What's the secret? And the funny thing is, there isn't one. The truth is, it was just routine. Before everything changed, life was chaotic. I didn't have a routine. There wasn't a routine at all to speak of, really, other than what we've discussed before, where the most normal routine was I would be having a drink. Mornings would just be get up. Sometimes I'd have breakfast, sometimes I wouldn't. I'd skip it. Drive through McDonald's on the way to work. We've all done it. Burger vans, bacon butty vans, you name it. Snacking through the day. Just eating rubbish, getting home, drink. And food decisions you make when you've had a drink, they tend to be not brilliant. So takeaways, lots and lots of takeaways. Just awful stuff. And making promises to myself that tomorrow is going to be different. I'll make a change tomorrow. Just not having any intention, really, not intentionally living with any kind of purpose. But I don't want to make it sound like everything changed overnight, because it didn't. The first thing that happened was really pretty simple, to be honest. Take the Manjaro, and the first thing that happens, your appetite gets suppressed. So naturally you eat less as a consequence of that. Your urge to eat is less. So that was the first thing that changed. That was simple. And at the same time, I decided to cut out the alcohol. I was ready for that, like we've discussed before. I was ready to get the booze gone, get it out of my life for a bit. Let's see what happens. And that was enough. That was enough, really. I wasn't trying to change 20 things, solve every issue. It just changed two. Just two. I ate less as a consequence of taking the Manjaro, which suppressed my appetite, and made that decision to cut the booze. And then as time goes on, that becomes normal. You add something else into your routine. And that's where I suppose routine comes into it. You don't just build a routine over one weekend or 1 week even. It's a slow thing. It's habit, and they form over time. Eventually, you start adding other things in. I started reading a bit more about health issues, reading about all sorts of things, mental health and how to help improve that and things that might improve it. I listened to the odd podcast. And one thing I did take from one of the podcasts I listened to was a guy who was talking about journaling, which sounds a bit alien to some of you. It certainly sounded alien to me at the time. Journaling, keeping a diary, but it was not keeping a diary as such. It's actually writing down each day, taking 5 minutes, whatever, 10 minutes. Write down what you felt through that day, what you did, not just what you did. Oh, I got up at 6, I did this, but what you did and how it made you feel. So like somebody at work said something this today, I reacted like this. And how did you feel about how you reacted? Now they said, how did the jabs make you feel? Initially, I sort of focused on how I was feeling after the jab, because the side effects were a bit full on at the start. But that then eventually became more of a therapeutic thing, and every day, either after I'd got home from work or sometimes in the morning when it's quiet, just sit with your coffee and write down what happened yesterday. How did you feel yesterday? What frustrations you had? What's in your mind? Anything, any frustrations you have with anything going on, your family, whatever, write it down. And the process of writing it down gets it out of here, gets it onto a bit of paper. Even if you screw that bit of paper out, chuck the bin straight away after, it's out. And that was massive. I have to say, it was massive. I was really sceptical. I thought, oh, yeah, really. So I was like, that's me, being a bit obsessive about everything. Date, go, right away. And you think, the next day you write a bit more. The next day you write a bit more. And then you find yourself writing 2-3 pages each day. And then once it's out, close that little journal. Still got it. And you don't write anymore for that day, but you can look back at it and say, oh, do you know what? That's helped me, just actually writing it down. And it may sound silly and skeptical, but give it a try. It worked for me. Trust me, it was massive for me. So journaling got added in. Eventually, due to obviously the change in diet, massive change in diet, not eating as much, tracking calories became a thing. There's loads of apps out there. I'm not going to promote anything on this channel that, I'm not going to tell you what app to use. There's plenty out there to choose from, but tracking what you're putting into yourself became a thing. Firstly, because I just wasn't eating enough, which was not brilliant. It was a side effect. Obviously, your appetite gets suppressed. Like I've said, I wasn't actually getting enough calories. I was struggling to get anywhere near 1,000 calories into me, and that is not good enough. Don't forget, at this point, I was 21 and a half stone, barely eating 1,000 calories a day. It wasn't enough. So, getting a calorie counting app, tracking everything you eat, kind of weird at first. So you have breakfast, oh yeah, write it in, oh, tap that in, yeah, I had that. Sounds like a bit of a pain, but gradually it just becomes what you do. Now I track everything. I don't really focus on calories anymore. I'm not interested in calories, to be honest now. Within reason, it's more about macros now with me. I track protein, fats, carbohydrates, because I know that helps support training and just my general well-being. I just keep an eye on what I'm putting in my body, and if I go a higher calorie day or a lower calorie day, it's not massive. And the routine is there now that we're not just up near 5,000-6,000 calories a day, which we could well have been the odd weekend during the phase when I didn't really give a monkey's left foot what I was putting into my body. So yeah, you start tracking, and that then becomes normal. You reach for an apple, you drop it in your app. You reach for a biscuit, you drop it in your app. It's as simple as that. Another part of the routine. And on the back of that, learning about protein, prioritizing protein of your meal. So obviously I have telephone consultations with the team that keep an eye on me, the diabetic team at the GP, and one of the nurses there, the consultant nurse there, was talking to me about protein, and got to prioritize protein because yes, you'll see the weight come off you, but a lot of that weight is muscle mass, and that's what you do not want to lose. It's all well and good you lose a bit of weight, but then you'll look absolutely awful and feel awful if you get weak. So you can't carry a bag, you can't lift anything heavy, or you can't, walk upstairs or a hill, and you're not really any further forward fitter than you were before because you've lost a lot of muscle. So you've got to try and protect that, and part of that, protecting that, is prioritising protein at every meal, base every meal around protein. So you start learning about that, and then that gets added into your daily routine. Hydration again is another part of the routine. None of us really, I say none of us drink enough. I'm sure there's plenty of you out there now that are more aware of it than you do. But a lot of the time, a lot of people walk around in a state of dehydration. I know I certainly did, and the alcohol made that worse. Making sure you get you get in fluids through the day. You don't just get up and drink a load of water and that's you done. Generally, I aim to and hit most days at least 3 litres of water. 3 litres a day, and I seem to be about right with that. I just sip at it through the day. In the morning, I'll fill a litre bottle up at work, and through that morning, I'll be drinking that. In the afternoon, another litre will go in, and then I'll have more at night. And if I'm training, it will be even more. If it's a training day, there's a drink always with me when I'm working out, when I'm having a session. In here, in the gym, you've got a drink with you at all time. You sip through that, so it tends to be a little bit more, maybe 4 litres that day, but most of the time it's 3. So making sure your hydration is on point. And another simple little change that got added in was walking, just walking, moving. Never used to move, never used to walk anywhere. And I started lunch times at work. I'd make sure I started going for a walk every lunchtime. If it wasn't raining, don't forget, this is the UK. Sometimes the weather will stop you, but make yourself go for a walk. Not for any reason, not because it burns calories, not for whatever. That wasn't in my mind. It was just move. Just move. I have a desk job, so I sit at a desk pretty much for 8 hours a day. Obviously you move about and what have you, and you get up and down, but most of the day you're sat at a desk. So move. 20 minutes every day, take yourself off for a walk. That's what I did. And yes, I tracked it as well. I tracked that on the watch, on your phone. Track it. And then gradually, it then doesn't become a question of, do I need to go for a walk today? Something else that you actually don't think about, you just do. It's part of your routine. You go for a walk. And then on the back of everything else, gradually, don't forget this is all over time, little things get added in. Resistance training. So strength training started to creep in, started to get more and more interested in that side of things, and more learning more about, right, okay, I'm losing weight now, I'm seeing the weight coming off, but I look like a noodle. I look like one of them cheese string things that you see outside a car sales place, and it's waving its hands about like that. That's what I started seeing in the mirror, whereas before I'd look in the mirror and be disgusting, and I saw this great big overweight mess that was just reliant on alcohol. Now I'm starting to see faults the other way. Oh my God, my arms are skinny, my legs are skinny, what's going on? I wasn't skinny, but that's what you start seeing, so that's another side of things. But strength training then became a part. I started with just body weight stuff, body weight movements. Then I bought bands. I started doing that. I'm thinking, I'm in my 50s. I got to be careful. I don't want to do this, that, and the other. But you can actually do a hell of a lot more than you think. I got into it, and then it gradually built up. And now I full on train. I train 5 days out of every 7, or that's not strictly true. 5 days of 7. I run a 5-day split. Those of you that know, it's not a concurrent split. It doesn't run back to back to back to back to back. It'll run. I'll have rest days in between, recovery days in between. Life stuff gets in between. It doesn't revolve around totally training, but I do train a 5-day split. Got into that. That is now another part of the routine. So each little thing, which wasn't put in immediately straight away, then becomes part of that routine and part of your routine. And it just becomes normal, and then you add another one in. So today, my routine, Meals was the best thing. Obviously, like I spoke about before, where the meals were a bit random and a bit chaotic. Now breakfast is the same every day. Water is the first thing I drink in the morning. I drink about half a litre of water. I take a couple of supplements, fish oils, stuff like that, just basic stuff. Make sure I've got some water in. Get the coffee on to be brewed, and while that coffee's brewing, so just move a little bit, just to get the old creaky joints moving. And then breakfast is the same every day. So we have Greek yogurt. I'll drop a scoop of protein powder in that just to get a protein hit first thing in the morning. And I absolutely have to say, I love prunes. Okay, I started having prunes as a counteraction to a well-known side effect of Mounjaro, which is constipation. And that is not fun, trust me. So I started just adding a few prunes in, and I made it a thing that every morning I chuck half a dozen prunes into my yogurt. That's my breakfast. And now that's what I do every day. Every breakfast is the same. I don't have to think about it. It's what I have. Now mid-morning, rather than snacking on all sorts, mid-morning I'll grab an apple, a pear, a banana, something like that. I'm not doing a fantastically physical job, so I don't need much else. Those of you that are doing physical jobs, if you're on building sites, something like that, you will probably need something more. But there are different options to just grabbing a bacon sandwich. So I just grab an apple, and lunch is usually pretty simple. It's either wraps or wholemeal bread and chicken, tuna, bit of beef, something protein based, with a bit of salad in it, bit of lettuce, tomato, cucumber, stuff like that in it. That's it. Keep it simple. 20-minute walk after that. And I don't do that because I have to. I do that because that is just what I do. And then obviously hydration. Keep that going all the way through. Like I said, sip away at a litre in the morning, sip away at a litre in the afternoon. If it's a training day, I then go home and I'll be up in here. And it is usually around about 90 minutes I train for, an hour to an hour and a half, depending on what I'm doing that day. And then shower, dinner. We sit down and have our dinner. Dinner's always sensible now. Kim, my wife Kim, is a fantastic cook, I have to say. And she enjoys experimenting in the kitchen as well, which is really, really good for me, because if it's bland and boring, you'll stop eating it. And it certainly isn't that. She really enjoys experimenting with things, and it's always based around protein, be that chicken, fish, beef, something, plenty of vegetables. Yeah, so always sensible. And if it's a rest day or recovery day, as I call it, i.e. a day I'm not training, that dinner just gets brought forward a little bit and we do something else in the evening. You switch off. There's not a lot of decision making, to be honest. Not a lot of decision to be made. What am I going to have for breakfast? It's already done. The decision is made. Am I going to go for a walk? That decision is made. It just becomes the routine. People do ask me now, and well, I say ask me, we talk about things, and there has been people that have said, well, that just sounds boring. Routine is boring. Well, for me, it's not boring. Routine created freedom, if you like, for me. Freedom in my head, my space, my headspace freed me up. I didn't have to make any decisions. I didn't have to keep negotiating with myself every day. I didn't have to keep asking, should I eat that? Should I go for a walk? Shall I come home and train? I don't need to negotiate or ask myself that now. It is just what I do. I eat that, I go for a walk, I come home and train, or I don't come home and train, I go over and do something else. There's no decision, because that decision's already been made. And that helps you kind of trust yourself again, which might sound a bit weird, but for years, I broke promises to myself. I've spoken briefly about those around me, but to myself, I broke promises. I'll start Monday and I'll eat better. I won't drink. I'll get the weight off. We never did. So, over the course of this last 18 months or so now, I stopped making big promises. Just started keeping small ones. One day, one walk, one meal, one workout. Tiny promises every day. And that, for me, rebuilt my confidence. Not because I got stronger, because I started trusting myself again. Because if you're trying to change your life, don't try and change everything. I didn't. I changed one thing, then another, and eventually all those little changes became my life. And I can look back and I don't think my life changed because I found the perfect diet, I found the perfect workout. It changed because I stopped relying on willpower every day. You start a diet, you start a new workout regime, and willpower keeps you at it. I stopped relying on that. Routine. Make it a routine, and that's what gets you through. People quite often say to me, you must be really motivated to stick to your diet and your workouts. And the funny thing is with that is motivation isn't what got me here. And that's what I'd like to talk about next time. So until then, look after yourself. And remember, we're not done yet.